gives you better conversation about your quality of life.
Let everyone know you listen to
The New Orleans Talk Network.
That's right. Good morning, that lovely lady telling you to watch WCH, the New Orleans Talk Network. And it's Bob B here for our Variety Hour on Wednesday. And I don't know how you're doing, but you know, this is the morning after Halloween. Maybe you're not even there because of such. We're hoping you had an eventful or even an uneventful Halloween. I don't know what's preferable at this age. In fact, kind of give you a little levity this morning if your eyes are open. Mike has received and loaded up for us a very short YouTube video starring me personally, if you want to call it that. And we used to be the king of Halloween and now nightlife. Now let's take a look and see what does the king do nowadays. And take a listen too, because the commentary is very funny. All right, Mike, roll him.
He's got everything under control, trying to entice the children here to, oh my God, he's got a Twixt. And he loves those Snicker bars. Too bad we don't have paydays. He's eating them with the wrappers on. The kids will be by here any minute.
All right, I don't know if you saw it all. I think you heard it all. I know I heard it all. The important thing is that it's not a big deal. But you saw what happens in life, and you don't have to be this old to have that same lifestyle. Sitting there handing out candy, and you know, we had a total, I think, of 8 kids. It was really a tremendous turn of success. After which we turned the lights out and moved on. But at least it was a safe, and those 8 little darlings sure appreciated the candy because, in fact, several of them were heard, "Mama, Mama, he gave us so much." It was strictly the law of supply and demand. Anyway, I hope yours was a lot happier, or at least a lot more eventful than mine. But the important thing is that it passed an evening. And, of course, I'm here with you all this morning. And we're going to give you a couple of announcements before we actually start the morning show. And, in fact, the morning show won't even start this morning until probably after our raffle. We have to do our new raffle. I do want to remind you of 2 fundraisers that we've been trying to give a little plug for, so that way they can, well, first of all, you will enjoy yourself at both these occasions and do some good in the city. And the first one is coming up this Friday, November the 3rd through November the 5th, Sunday. If you heard me last week, it's Scandinavia House having the Scandinavian, I think it's the 9th annual festival. And they feature, they're on Britannia. I believe the address is 1752 or 1722. It's a 1700 block. You can't miss it on Britannia. It starts at 11 o'clock in the morning and goes to, I know, some part in the afternoon. I'm sure you can find out when you go or if you give them a call. It's arts and crafts. But what's really nice is a sample of Scandinavian homemade dishes. This is food we don't have a lot of exposure here in restaurants, so it'll be good to try. And again, you know, I have a big credo with regard to how important it is to try other cuisines. It's just like travel. It's another way of bringing mankind together and a lot more pleasurable, because once you get over whatever phobias or stigmas you have about particular foods or ideas or concepts, you're going to see your lifestyle, your whole persona will be a lot more fulfilled as such. So, okay, that's this Friday. The following Friday, November 10th, I'm hoping that I'll be able to attend, it's called the Celebrity Cabaret, and it's held at the JW Marriott on Canal Street, specifically in the fabulous restaurant down there called the Fogo de Chão, I'll get the pronunciation, which is Brazilian or steakhouse that goes around and serves you as much of the multiple different types of meat, predominantly fowl, not so much seafood, as much as you like, as long as you want. And then there's a buffet of wonderful accessories, salads, desserts, etc. But the most important thing here is it's actually a cabaret. The Trixie Minx, who is a local celebrity in her own right, will be the master of ceremonies, and I tell you, for the middle of the day, it's going to be quite an interesting event. So that also starts at 11 o'clock November 10th. And both of these, you can go to the actual websites. For this one, it's NHS NOLA, for Neighborhood Housing Services, New Orleans, Louisiana. Give them a call. They'll give you more details. But I encourage you, if you really want, it's a full meal and a show, the middle of the day on a Friday, what better thing to do? Okay. Now, let's go on beyond that. We've got our little shout-outs done. I wanted to tell you that today, of course, for those who follow us, would be celebrity, I get that on my mind, sorry, Chef's Chat. And we usually do the domestic version, which is where we speak to a chef who is in the United States, continental United States, but not within the local community. And my apologies, folks, because our chef that was scheduled to appear, who I did actually do a Facebook post to announce last night, let us know that he was going to be unable to attend. So I'm really sorry about that. Hopefully anybody who was watching to see him, because I know he's this is great popularity. We got a lot of good chef response to the Facebook post. So I know they're out there watching. They know I'm trying to give as much exposure not only to our local chefs, now to our chefs in the U.S., and in the third week of our month to the chefs around the world. So it's a great program. It's just today we're not going to be able to deliver what we promised. So 40 slaps with a wet noodle, or whatever that old saying you don't even know about. Anyway, we got some good news. You see, we're back to using lapel microphones, so I don't have to have that big ugly thing. You look like Edward R. Murrow if I had the dark glasses. That's someone you probably don't even know. But the important thing now is it's looking more like a TV program instead of a radio program. You see us now. We don't have cumbersome things, and we're hoping to continue in that vein. As you know, we want to push the envelope with regard to bringing video to your computer, your laptop, your smartphone, or taking any of those modes and Chromecasting it or Rokuing it or Fire Stick or whatever it's called on your big TV. Because, you know, there's nothing better than seeing me on the big screen. It's reminiscent of Mommy Dearest, for those who remember that particular scene, if you ever saw that movie with Joan Crawford. Anyway, enough about all this nonsense. So what are we going to do in the interim? And we don't have the chef we wanted. The part of the discussion was going to be on farm to table, which I touched on briefly earlier during the year. And in regards to food, the last trend over the last 15 plus years has been trying to move farm to table. Now, farm to table, we're going to get in a little detail unless it gets too boring. We will talk about that after the break. But we're also going to open the lines. Now, this is something new, too. Besides asking you to call, which we love, I mean, call shows, always appreciate any caller. We also would like you to text. We know today's people, for some reason, don't like to take the moment and talk on the phone. I guess they're doing two things at once, so they can actually send a text. So any question you have about the show or comment you want to make, you can text it to the same line as the call line, and that's 504-341-8255, 341-TALK. So we'd love to hear from you today in any form and fashion. And so let me draw out some more categories in case it gets too monotonous on the farm to table. How about you letting us know, or does any chefs listening who maybe wanted to see our current chef want to call up and tell us about yourself? Won't be as good as you being here by Skype and seeing some of your food, but at the same time we can hear about your restaurant, whether it's local or whether it's anywhere in the world. So we'd love to hear from you. If you have not only a question, but just want to do a little self-promotion, and we give you whatever time you want during the show. So you can also give us a call and a text. Or if you want to know, you out there want to know about a particular chef or restaurant, or want to tell us about your favorite chef, or who is the restaurant and that chef, we'll do our best to answer those questions. And lastly, after we explore that, or don't explore it, depending on what the response is, we're going to jump ahead from one holiday that just finished to the next holiday. Thanks to our wonderful, my invisible co-host Mike today, gave me a great suggestion. Why don't we talk a little about Thanksgiving? It's not too early, never too early for me Thanksgiving, because my prize food is turkey, okay? So what we want to do is hear from you with regard to, if you're interested in what you do for Thanksgiving. Do you cook traditional, non-traditional, or do you go outside to a restaurant like I've been doing for a lot of my life? And if so, let's talk about some restaurants you'd like to try. Hopefully they're open. If we know, we will tell you about them, and we'll tell you about the ones we know. If not, you tell us which ones you've been to for Thanksgiving or want to go for this Thanksgiving. Okay, so we have given you pretty much a nice little agenda. We realize it's not the same as having our chef either in studio or by Skype, but at the same time, we wanted to keep it in that vein. We have other topics we do on shows when we don't go with the normal topic, but we wanted to stay with the chef, restaurant, food vein today, because that's what this show's about. And for those who would be lured to the show, they would be watching us or listening to us because of that. So what we want to do is go ahead and take our first break. You know, we have to do that. Today we might have at least two, if not probably three breaks, since we don't have the guest in studio. But we'll go ahead and take our first break. When we come back, we'll do our raffle, and then we'll start with some of the topics. Meanwhile, don't forget, one last time, I'm going to ask you if you have a chance to call or text on the number 504-341-8255, 341-TALK. We'll see you at the other side of the commercial.
When I wake up in the morning, love, and the sunlight hurts my eyes, and something without warning, love, bears heavy.
What is New Orleans Talk Network? It's today's hottest topics with an added flair. You get ready, because the conversation will be hot, and better yet, mobile. Download the New Orleans Talk Network app, available on Android, iPhone, iPad, and you can listen to us on the web at www.neworleanstalknetwork.com. Write down our talk line at 504-341-TALK. That's 504-341-8255. Interactive and worldwide. That's what we are. Join in on the real conversation and tell a friend about the New Orleans Talk Network.
What's up, readers and shakers? It's your girl, Rhonda M. Lawson, sending you a personal invite to the Literary Lounge. Tune in to Horizons with Meet the World Image Solutions each Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time for the best in literary conversation. Each week, a different author will join us to talk to their most important readers, you. You can also call in to ask your own questions. So don't forget, each Wednesday at 7 p.m., join us in the lounge for Horizons with Meet the World Image Solutions. See you there.
Hi, I'm Linda Lewis with Lewis Armstrong Family Services here live at New Orleans Talk Network. We're here every Thursday at 11 a.m. Come join us. Thank you.
Are you looking for a home to live stream your next event? Give us a call here at Bethesda Community Event Center, the only place on the Gulf Coast that can host and broadcast live your wedding reception, your baby shower, business seminar, and any other special event. Give us a call at 504-708-9454 for more details.
Nobody gives you better conversation about your quality of life.
Let everyone know you listen to
The New Orleans Talk Network.
Yes, and we're here to celebrate the quality of life on Bob's Variety Hour that you're watching on the New Orleans Talk Network. We gave our apologies already for not having our chef today, and we want to move beyond that. So as we mentioned, we're going to go ahead and do our raffle, and then we'll start on some of those topics I mentioned before the break and see if we can get any kind of interest or response. All right, today's raffle. As you know, we had a winner for the one of the books last week. We sent that off to I think it was Deborah Hunter from Jackson, Mississippi. She gave her the salad book, which was really cool. Today we have a brand new, again this is maybe on more the feminine vein, but really it's artistic decoration. Can be used as a flower vase. If you notice, it's a vase, as I mentioned. It's heavy ceramic. It's a ceramic vase, cylindrical, kind of ellipse shape, about 8 or 9 inches tall. Very pop art. So it's kind of a Wedgwood blue or a medium, a little bit not that gray, maybe a little brighter than that, but not a royal blue, but matte finish. But what makes it pop, if you can see on the show or in picture, is that there's silver overlay, and I don't mean real silver, but silver decoration in, it's not a paisley pattern, but like a vine pattern all through it that's raised, and well, the top of the cylinder also has that, which you can't see, that same cylinder relief. And it's got a few little padded feet here, so it won't damage anything where you put it any surface. Again, a young girl, if you have contemporary or pop art kind of architecture or furniture, would go well. Use it for anything, but a single blossom or just as, like I say, as a decorative piece. You can put a candle in it, I'm sure, if you want it. Regardless, the important thing is if you're interested, we would like you to be at our raffle. And as we said, whether you find this of interest this week, last week, or a future week, where we'll talk about some of the things we plan to get for the raffle, all we need you to do is register one time, a very simple registration. And you qualify for every week. So unfortunately, you may not win, or also maybe, unfortunately, you win something that you don't want, but you don't have to claim it, as several people do. And then we'll try it for another week and then give it away to some charity or some other situation. But we are going to get some good wings. We've had some great things, jazz tickets, art, and some of that will be coming back. In the interim, we want you to get on that typewriter or the typewriter, listen to me. Get on that computer and register or use your phone. You need to email me, and Mike's going to put up that address as usual. It's bob@rrevue.com. It's not through Yahoo or Gmail. It's through my website. So bob@rrevue.com. That's the trickiest part. You need to just put your full name, your email address so we can contact you, and the zip code of your residence or your business so we know from which you can. And as we said, once you're in it for as long as we do the raffle. So the law of large numbers says the probability of you winning might be even greater because of that. So you don't have to be inconvenienced more than one time. So go ahead and do that. Okay, that's enough for that. We'll move that to the side. There you go. Although it doesn't go badly here with the, anyway, don't want to knock it over. That's all I need. But as we mentioned, what I would do, like to put out a solicitation to any of you vendors out there, if you're watching or realize the value of our social promotions that we do and all. We would love to have a gift certificate of some sort for your business to give away on the raffle. We'll give you a little promo in that day on that spot. And, of course, you'll get a customer to use your services. Restaurants, I think we're going to get a couple of restaurants very soon. So that's going to help out and give you all something rather than just these other things, which may or may not be of interest. And most of the sponsored stuff are great because it shows that we're growing and also gives you something that you can use that pleases more than just an individual niche of people. Anyway. So regardless, spend a little moments if you haven't done it already. Go ahead and register and get caught up because there's good things coming down the raffle. Now, time to return to the topics. And as I said, something new I should present, especially it'll be apropos for next week when we talk to the tarot, is that we want to make sure you understand that you can call, as I say, our talk line, but you can also text it. It's very important to the tarot because if she doesn't have a reserved caller, we try and get reservations in advance for her so that way we know someone's called. And we open it up to the audience and you can call in, but you have to provide some information. So you can do that through text instead of online, or Mike will take it before we go to the tarot card reader. But the same thing here, any of our shows. If you don't want to go online as a caller, even though we don't see you, we hear you, if you don't want that and you want the convenience of texting, Remember, the line is the same. The number is the same, 504-341-8255. 504-341-TALK. So anything about today's show, if you don't want to give us a call, which we would love, go ahead and send a text to Mike, and he'll get the information to us, and we'll try and share it to you that way. Okay, time to start the topic. As we said, topic number 1 will be farm to table. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this unless we see some real interest in it. But for those who are not familiar, this is, like I say, is a trend that started about 10, 15 years ago, depending on what part of the country you live in. There was twofold concepts in this regard. One is to ensure that the food that you're eating in restaurants specifically was actually fresher than fresh could be. It's hard to say. But I mean, not something that has to transport across the country in frozen trucks or whatever. You were getting it directly from a local produce or a farmer to your restaurant. And so therefore the vegetables and all would be super fresh as opposed to frozen or just even refrigerated for days. It's a great concept. Obviously many of the upscale restaurants saw it as something to appease their clientele, who are becoming more and more demanding, because we're all becoming foodies at all levels, and obviously that level keeps increasing depending on what you're used to eating. So here was a chance for them to get things that they couldn't get at the ordinary purveyor, whether it's specialized microgreens became a very important thing, not just greens that we normally know, herbs, vegetables, flowers to eat, stuff like that. And the other thing is we wanted to hook up the restaurants there directly with the farm or the produce, so there is no middle agent, which also adds a price. Everyone says, oh, the reason you did that is strictly to raise the prices. That's not true. That's not true. So the restaurateur can actually develop a relationship. Instead of just ordering from a checklist from one of the 3 major suppliers here of the frozen goods or whatever the fresh stuff they have, you actually will know the person who's growing your stuff and develop a relationship with him or her. So that way your food, you'll feel better about it, just as, especially if you're a chef, in serving it to your customers. Now, the other aspect of it is something that's really overlooked. The tremendous, not only the plight of the homeless, but the hungry. We hear a lot about the children being hungry, which is very true in our schools and outside of our schools, where the kids might live not a normal lifestyle and do not get food of any substance, let alone healthy food. So the idea was to bring the food to markets, and I don't mean necessarily just the commercial store, grocery store, because in many of our states, like here, we've had a hard time post-Katrina in areas like the 9th Ward of getting even a grocery store back. And finally, I think, got one, but no choice to go from one or another. So we developed these marketplaces locally very well, where farmers could bring their produce and sell it to the neighbors in that area. So at the same time as one, instead of we learned that a lot of the population that is not well-to-do, that can't really eat regularly out of the house or whatever, or doesn't have a big selection from them because of their financial limitations, will now at least get a lot of their foods fresh. So it won't be all the canned beans. And even though we all grew up on those, there's nothing absolutely wrong with them, but they're so much better. I mean, the thing that's wrong with them is like the high levels of salt or sugar, all the things that we're learning that are so detrimental to our health. And in the old days, of course, we didn't think about that. So what? We just wanted something that tasted good, that was for our plate, a little variety. So that's the way it went. But today we've got to be more conscious. We all seem to want to live longer, even though we all have a terminal date. At the same time, if we're going to live, we need to live as healthy as possible, because there's so many things out ready to destroy these bodies. The more that we are careless and don't be a little wise about our choice of what we put in our bodies, and not just food, alcohol, drugs, all that other stuff, but even in the food that we eat, because that's the most prevalent thing that we all share. There's food. Then that is going to help our life, our longevity, be a little bit more quality, a little better quality, a little more happiness in our life because of stuff like that. So I think there's merit to it. There's in the restaurant world, there are pros and cons here, even locally here. Some of the, of course, the chefs that are using it are ballyhooing it with their restaurants about the magnificent foods and dishes, the variations of dishes that they can do, and with all these new varietals of, like I say, of produce alone, that they can produce such fabulous, not only tasting, but looking dishes. And of course, you know, we're also scaling back. We weren't depending on food just to fill our bellies and put as much in there as possible. We're now putting its quality, the best foods, and we need to watch our portions. I certainly do. I certainly need to. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to follow what I preach, although I've cut back a lot, so don't worry about me. The important thing is that, so all the upscale, all the restaurateurs, their chefs are finding the fabulous opportunities they have to do more and more creations. And we have to here because our restaurant community is so vibrant here in New Orleans. We have way more restaurants now than we did before Katrina, and we had lost at least half, if not more than that, during Katrina. So you can see, and yet our population's nowhere near yet the Katrina standards, getting close, but it's still a very small population with a very large restaurant base. So those people are really well to jump on the board. There's some others who, hey, this is something, if we can advertise, if we can market that we do farm to table, we're going to get more customers because it's so trendy. So there's the really non-believers who will, unfortunately, and that's in any business, use that term because they use a local purveyor or so, and not necessarily are conscious of what they're buying. They're just, if they use one of the local national purveyors that has a local office here, some of them will be saying they do farm to table. So we have to live and learn. We have to learn to pick and choose the ones that really are. And lastly, there's those who really detest it. There's a local chef here, and I won't say names, of course, who derides it. His restaurant is a typical, or has been typical, New Orleans style family seafood restaurant. A lot of seafood done beautifully. And he has some interest in Japanese food, so he's trying to get aesthetically as well, but and add a few dishes, but predominantly most of the stuff is fried. And he kind of, in his blogs, and his postings, kind of makes fun of that. And he has a good following, which is great. I like the restaurant a lot, but a lot of his followers will downplay, some other chefs will downplay the effectiveness of the farm to table and really mock it. So you have all three versions. You have to decide what's right. I think what's good about some of our evolution, not only technology, et cetera, which is goods and bads, but here as well, that our families and certainly our children, if you're blessed to have some, are very cognizant, maybe some reasons more superficial than others, to have a beautiful body or look for their fans or their spouses or their paramours, etc. And even if it's for that reason, which is very shallow, of course, but typical about today's society, they are much more leading and learning about farm to table and looking for the foods that are fresher, that much more varietal. So in one respect, even though they might be doing it for the wrong purpose, that they all say they're going to the gyms, for their health, and what's good is that is a wonderful offshoot of exercise is the wonderful preservation of your body and the internal organs. But at the same time, a lot of it, I have to admit, and I think we'll all admit if we're truthful, that it's strictly for cosmetic reasons, aesthetic reasons. But once again, we've learned to cut down on our portions and to eat healthier foods, even if it's just because it's trendy. So the direction is going in the right way, whether it's by choice or by accident. It's just that we still have a tremendous proportion of people who aren't able to that, either because of finances or just unaware, education, etc. So this Farm to Table serves a really good purpose. And we were hoping to have today, we have a local farmer here on the West Bank in Marrero, Mr. L.V. Chauvin. Maybe you know him, runs 2 Acre Farms. I met him at that Farm to Table conference that we attended last summer in August. And several of the restaurateurs, chefs who were on the panel, etc., use him, I wouldn't say exclusively, but certainly have developed a relationship for his produce for their restaurants. So I gave him a call thinking we could get him on last minute, but of course he's got a heavy day today. He does tours of his farm as well for the kids, so if you ever need, or if you're a principal or school teacher, you say, hey, we'd love to do field trips for our kids, drop me a line or look him up on Facebook. E-L-V-I-A is his first name, Chauvin, typical New Orleans name, C-H-A-U-V-I-N, or 2 Acre Farms. He'll be glad to accommodate you. A lot of the older students will actually work there, actually learn. And it's so funny because, I don't know if it's funny or just strange, that many of our kids today, and maybe we didn't think so as much when we were growing up, but have no idea where the food comes from. I mean, you know, they're served in the restaurant on your plate, but, you know, they might see it in the refrigerator, the chicken after it's already processed or whatever, and the vegetables, but don't even know. In fact, one person was telling the story that he took some of the students out to the farm, and they had educated and showed them different results. And one of the products that they showed them were radishes, but still their plumage on it, their stems. And so he asked his kids who out there, now, okay, now we want you to go pick up some radishes or some other things, but we want you to bring us one radish to show how you like it. One little boy came back to him and said, not in tears, but certainly very, very upset, and told the gentleman, I can't find any radish. So I'm sure, son, we have tons and tons. He said, well, yeah, but I can't find a radish tree. There's no tree with the radish hanging on them. Now, first of all, he didn't even look at the radish itself to see that they came with stalks, you know, with the stems sticking out, and that grows in the dirt. So that's how little we know about our produce. So that's what this educational process is, not just getting it fresh, but learning where it comes from. So more and more of the schools, you know, we've been fortunate to have 3, well, specifically the one on the West Bank here, Cafe Hope, who we had Louis Arocha on a few weeks ago during our Know Your Nonprofit, explaining how they take the kids from A to Z. They learn how to plant. They learn the education, first of all, about lifestyle, about how to eat right, and etiquette, all that part. Then they go out and learn to plant, how they plant these things. They're not just in the dirt, but hydroponically, the new methods of planting. Harvesting, and then preparing them and serving them in a restaurant that they run. So they get the full gamut. So they really know after they're finished, I've forgotten the length of the course, 16 weeks, something like that. They really know whether they have an interest in that, not just for their purpose of eating, but to go on and have a career, which is such a desired field today. In the old days, it was just hard labor, hard sweat labor in an uncomfortably hot kitchen with a vagabond kind of personnel and staff that you work with from all parts of life. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but most of the time, not the highest level of staff would be there in the kitchen. To now being so prominent, as we've always said, that the chefs are the kitchen and the chefs are the restaurant. They either own it or they're forefront. They're out there talking to you, talking to the customers, broadcasting, advertising their product so you know them and the stuff they can do, just like these shows. Okay, now let's see. I was getting ready to start the next topic because we haven't heard anything on Farm to Table, so maybe it is still a taboo or not really as interested as it should be. But Mike tells me that we have to do our second break. Let's do our second break, and then we'll pick up and talk about those other conversations, okay? See you after the commercial.
Listen up. Your customers, our listeners, could be hearing about your business right now. Yeah, right now. Don't miss out on the opportunity to advertise with NewOrleansTalkNetwork.com. Call our business department today at 504-475-4793 to hear about our great rates. NewOrleansTalkNetwork.com. We provide the people, you provide the business.
Here at Jones Insurance, your full-service agency, let us take care of all your insurance needs. We provide homeowners insurance, flood, rental, commercial, auto, and life insurance. Don't let the unexpected tragedy destroy your family's future. Here at Jones Insurance, 7603 West Bank Expressway, Monroe, Louisiana, 772. Contact Lois at 504-348-1492.
Hi, this is Jill Samuels with Faith That Works. Join us every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time and 12 noon on New Orleans Talk Network as we change the lives of people with the Word of God by equipping the body of Christ to evangelize the world while reconciling people back to God. Let us continue to carry the water to the desert because Jesus is the living water.
Stop this hauling water to the sea.
Join in on Mondays from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. for Breaking the Silence with Dr. Patricia Fry. There are no limitations or boundaries. We talk about life, and guess what? That includes you. So download the app today, New Orleans Talk Network, and subscribe on YouTube. That's every Monday, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. New Orleans Talk Network, Breaking the Silence with Dr. Patricia Fry.
Nobody gives you better conversation about your quality of life.
Let everyone know you listen to
The New Orleans Talk Network.
Good morning, good morning. Not so much conversation today, but certainly, hopefully, topics of interest every week here on Bob's Variety Hour, Wednesday mornings at 8 o'clock. As we mentioned, we've given twice apologies for our absent chef and just something we could not correct in a short period of time. We will give a notice of the cancellation. But I can assure you we will have plenty more. We're working with the Chef Chat International. One gentleman's all the way from West Africa. I'm a little concerned about all the technology there, but we're exploring all over, as well as domestic chefs for the first week in December. So we are working ahead of time to try and bring you chefs of interest, not only for the local community, but also for the varied chefs who've developed to watch this program. I think we had a big jump with regard to once we started the international part, had our great chef from the United Kingdom. We've had a lot of interest from United Kingdom chefs about either appearing and are certainly watching the show. So we're really looking to expand that in the future. All right. We talked a little bit about Farm to Table this morning. Didn't get a lot of response. Once again, you can call us or text us with any question. 504-341-8255, 504-341-TALK. We're going to talk about restaurants, chefs, and then we're going to ooze into Thanksgiving, which is still a little ways off, but, you know, I love to talk about it because of the particular entree that I love so much. Anyway, so if you're a chef out there and you want to get some self-promotion or just talk about anything, just give us a call or a text. If you're interested and want to tell us about your favorite chef or restaurant or ask a question about a restaurant, please do it from now to the end of the show. Any point, Mike will take your call and pass it through if you want, or provide me with the information so we can share in the discussion and answer your questions or speak about something you're interested in. All right, chefs, I want to talk about, and I've done this before, I like to find restaurants. Of course, as you know, my television show has put me in the vein of patronizing and exploring, more than patronizing, new restaurants and/or their chefs, because and it's worked me very well because of the proliferation of our restaurant industry. I did it for 15 years, seeking out only restaurants that were 1 day and 1 year old for the TV show, and continue to do that in my personal life because it's just the variety of the situation. Not that I don't have favorites, and not that I don't go back to some of the ones, but at the same time, there's just so much, I don't want to miss anything. I want to try it all and repatronize those that I've really enjoyed. And one consistent one is, I think, a really good success story. That's why I've brought it up several times, and that is, it's called the Munch Factory. Munch Factory started off as a lovely husband and wife from New Orleans. The husband had training in New York, I believe, for the Culinary Institute, if my old mind remembers correctly. And they predominantly are Creole soul interest in their restaurant. So what's good about it is all of their dishes have a little bit kick to them. They have a little seasoning, a little bit of pepper that I, as a New Orleans native, love. But they're also taking the typical or non-typical Creole dish and upscaling it with that French cooking and really coming out with some creative things and being consistent all the time. And folks, they really are early proof that you can start a business from social media or just word of mouth. What they did was they started out of their home and selling off the back of their car. I think they had SUV, not just the trunk of a car. In the beginning, it was fish tacos, strictly fish tacos. Well, we're talking about, I've forgotten how many years ago that is, but let's say 10 to be at least 10. And they developed a big following because it was so good. It was inexpensive. It was great food at that time. Fish tacos were not really that well known. They were starting to come into their reality, but not really well known. So they developed a base there. Then they said, well, hey, we want to do a restaurant, brick and mortar place in the area that we grew up in or have our families in, and that was Gentilly. So they took, I think it's Franklin Avenue, across from the old Milne's home. And at that time, there was a lot of boarded up buildings, post-Katrina, a lot of, you know, almost a vast wasteland. You can imagine what Milne's home looks like. It's only now that it's been started renovation of that, or finished renovation the last year. So a lot of the commercial stuff that had been there over the years had really gone by the by. The buildings were just there, either boarded up or just in disrepair. So they took this little corner place, and I don't know the cross street, but the easiest way to remember, I'm not good, it's near Fillmore. Like I said, you know where Milne's boys' home is, whatever it's being used for now, look across the street. That's where they used to be. Now, there's another restaurant there. It was on the corner. They opened up. The wife has some lovely, she's the front of the house. You never found anybody with such a great personality. So you have to have two things. It's not like the old days where the kitchen chef is kept in the kitchen and you never get to meet. You've got to know the kitchen chef. You've got to know his product. He's got to be able to communicate with you. And he's got to have a wonderful front of the house. It doesn't have to be a lot of people. They started with just 2 people, themselves, and I think 1 or 2 relatives to help out with the additional work of serving and stuff like that. But she is a real ambassador, and she was on my TV show and just did a bang-up job promoting their restaurant. They grew because, first of all, one is that they didn't have a lot of restaurants in that area, so appealing to the community. So it really was, they couldn't meet the capacity. So they moved to a larger venue, at that time on Elysian Fields, closer to UNO and Robert E. Lee, and did very well. At the same time, they really had a yearning to go uptown. So they just last year moved to the Lower Garden District at the Magazine Triangle, I call it. Took over an old pizza place that had been there for 40 years. And once again, they're not looking to have the fact it's comfortable seat. They brought their same chairs at each of the 3 places. For the most part, the same decor, the lovely oil paintings or acrylic paintings by friends of theirs, but a really turning out first-rate product. Besides their menu, they have specials, of course, And now what's good about this place that they didn't have at the other places was they have a comfortable bar and a bartendress, I believe, who can prepare almost any drink. So they've got the best of all worlds. And it shows in the 10 years how well they've grown. They do delivery as well now uptown, so it adds on besides to their catering fees. So they have a lot more abilities to reach customers, and we're just so darn proud of them that I constantly preach them. There's a lot of chefs in our city, a lot of new ones, and we try and do as much as we can to, especially local, to promote what I call the invisible chef. The invisible chef, for the most part, is the ethnic chef, whether it's African American. A lot of our African American chefs never get any kind of publicity. I've been working the mainstays in kitchens for years. The Latino and the Asian chef, and just equally as important, the female chef. We've said this before. For the longest time, well, Leah Chase has been the queen, of course, of our female chefs, but there's been few and far between. We have Susan Spicer. We have a couple of others that have come. But now more and more getting an opportunity. It's still dominated by that male factor, and I'm looking to try and best to help give them a voice and a face that you can learn and taste their food you might have tasted many years ago often and never even known it was coming from them. You saw the name on the menu or heard who was the executive chef or the head chef, and really that was for the most part the supervisor of these individuals. Many of them are so creative they were given the opportunities to devise the specials of the day. Those are usually created by the subordinate staff to give them not only potential for growth, but motivation to hopefully stay with them, even though sometimes that's their reason to leave, because they realize that they can do this on their own thing. They've done it before for the big man, as they call it, but they also can do it for themselves. All right. We don't look like we're getting calls again today, we understand. So we're not going to do too much on restaurants, because that's a whole nother show, Restaurant Review. But let's go ahead and finish up talking about the future food holiday, as I call it, and that is Thanksgiving. As we know, it's still, I believe, the last Thursday of the month. It's hard to know the date. The date does change, but it's in the 20s, and it's always on a Thursday, as far as I know, and I believe it's always the last Thursday of the month. So we have that coming up in a few weeks, something to look forward to. Again, if you want to give us a call or text about how you spend Thanksgiving, what you do, how you're doing it this year or past years, what you eat, what you like to eat, what you don't like to eat, we'd love to hear from you. But if not, you can hear from this old guy's opinion. I grew up loving Thanksgiving and Christmas, and not so much for the presents, even for Christmas. I mean, most kids love presents first, food second. And it was because I didn't realize, but it came soon to me after I got a little bit of age, that I crave turkey. In our household, even though I know red meat is really the staple of the American diet for the most part, especially middle-class America, and been that for years. My mom had a fear that my father would have heart problems, and maybe he did because he died of that. So at some point she cut back, and she was only using baby veal or lamb, which nobody liked at that time. The thing is, I would always wait for those holidays. And as I got older and older, they would be much more amenable to do turkey, especially as it got so convenient, where you didn't have to buy a whole turkey. I mean, because when I wanted a turkey, I was looking for a big thing because I wanted it to last. I would eat off that baby all the rest of that week. Even though everybody, that's dry. And I have to admit, back then, there were a lot of turkeys that were overcooked and were dry. I still crave the turkey, okay? Specifically the white meat. I've been known to eat occasionally a drumstick because it's so mad, but it's not really my cup of tea. So I measure the success of Thanksgiving and of Christmas whether or not there's turkey involved, okay? Now, you can have when I was married, we always did two things. In other words, we'd always have turkey But we would have maybe an experiment. One time went to a goat was a fiasco, even though we had it out. So there's many ways of doing it. The family that I eat with the most of the time until recently, I had Italian as well, so they would have turkey, they would have ham, they would have lasagna and other Italian dishes, as well as the regular accompaniments, dressing, 2 types of dressing, rice dressing, my favorite, as well as cornbread dressing. The whole plethora of vegetables, desserts. So it's really gorging ourselves, and of course that was something that I really shouldn't have done. Today we cut back, and for the most part we don't eat at home anymore. There's been a lot of changes in those families. Some of them not good medically, etc. So we do go out to eat, and once again we try and go to a restaurant that will do turkey of some sort, as well as others for those in line. We've settled into a good family, nice little uptown restaurant called the Maple Street Cafe. It's been there for many years. We know the owner, and he is Mediterranean, so a lot of his dishes have that Mediterranean influence, but he has traditional dishes for holidays. And so because of that, he gets a nice clientele from uptown that want to go ahead and eat at the restaurant as opposed to doing all the work on the outside. All right, the clock on the wall is telling me we don't have much time left, so I can't go into a lot more detail. I wish I could, because I love it, but at the same time, I don't want to bore you, and we certainly don't want to be cut off because of running out of time. We do want to thank you for participating, or at least watching us and listening to us today about substitute topics. It's again, we didn't have our scheduled chef. But don't give up on us in that regard. I promise you, we're going to do our darndest to always have a chef for you on the first Wednesday and the third Wednesday of the month. So before we say goodbye, don't forget next week is our good friend Robin Denon with Talk to the Tarot. And again, remember our new thing. You don't have to. We have one of the slots reserved, but the other one's open. So if you are a procrastinator or don't want to get on there, but during that morning you find you have time, you can call, talk to Mike, or you can text him, giving him your name and your age will not be on the radio, and you will be able to get your tarot card read by Robin. So remember that number, 504-341-8255. This is Bob signing off. We'll see you next week, and come on back to us. Take care.
I see you in a lonely place. How can you be so blind? You're still regretting the love you left behind. Oh, darling, I've seen you go through